Hello, and welcome to the Reach or Miss Show, the podcast for the customer-focused entrepreneur, where Hayut Yogev speaks with entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs about reaching or missing the critical point of approaching the right customer with the right message at the right time and place. The point where business success starts. And here is your host, Hayut Yogev.
Reach or Miss, Episode 38. Co-founder and CEO of Cerius Executives and Cerius Advisors, Pam Wasley is a serial entrepreneur with multiple decades of knowledge and experience. She has personally sold companies, led a management buyout, and advised hundreds of companies on strategies for growth and higher shareholder value. Pam has served on several private boards and is a highly sought-after speaker. She has been featured in prestigious publications such as Forbes, Entrepreneur, Fortune, and Bloomberg Business-week on the topics of mergers and acquisitions, the workforce of the future, and global contingent workforces. Pamela Wasley, I'm so happy for having you here today. Hi.
Hello, and thank you for the invitation to be on your podcast today.
It's my pleasure. It really is. And I just shared with our listeners what you've done until now. And I would like to ask you to share with us what are you doing and most passionate about today, and where are you heading?
Yeah, right now I'm CEO of Cerius Executives, and we are growing a firm that places part-time and interim executives in companies around the world. So the passion I have about that is, in fact, I started this company back in 2005. And then by 2007, 2008, we went into this terrible recession.
Sure.
So growing this company, my goal has always been a couple reasons. One is to get as many of these executives out in these companies as possible. And the reason for that is because companies today, they don't have to hire all full-time employees. It's very expensive. There's a lot of labor laws. There's a lot of complications if you have to hire all full-time people. In today's world, you don't have to do that because if you're just missing a particular expertise that you don't necessarily have to have on a full-time basis, 5 days a week, 12 months out of every year,
Sure.
With somebody in part-time. There's part-time CFOs, there's part-time CTOs. And by the way, entrepreneurs, this type of service is perfect for entrepreneurs because I remember, this is my fourth company, and I remember the first companies that I had, I would have given anything to be able to bring somebody in on a part-time basis. But that model didn't exist. So I always hired a full-time controller or a full-time CFO or a full-time CTO, when in reality today, you don't have to do that. So if you think about it, I can hire a person on a part-time basis, actually get a better quality of person than I can typically afford because I'm only using that person part-time. So for an entrepreneur just starting up their firm, it's just the perfect solution for either, missing an expertise on your executive team, or maybe there's a specific thing that you want to do for about a year, and your people don't have the bandwidth or you don't have the expertise.
Wow. What was the idea behind the company? Did you actually start the company? Did you found it?
Yeah, actually, I was one of 7 co-founders,
Wow.
And we started back in 2005, and we actually started as a consulting firm.
Okay.
But I have to tell you, in consulting back in 2005, there was just a lot of competition, and consultants didn't have a very good reputation out there. I mean, clients were always complaining about, I'm not really sure what they're doing. I have somebody that I hired, I just spent $80,000 on them, and I don't know what I got for my money. So it was just a very tough place to be. So I started looking around at other models that were out there. And I found one actually over in Europe, which was this whole interim executive model. And I have to admit, I stole it. Good ideas.
Yeah, we should.
out there for anybody to, to modify or use or whatever. So, and there was only one company here in the United States that was actually doing it, and they were only in the finance area. It wasn't in sales or operations or IT or HR. They just did it in finance. So I thought, okay, well, I think we're going to change our model to this interim executive model. And one of the other things that we decided to do, because these are been there, done that executives, these are very experienced. And I'm not saying in age, because our average age for our executives is 46.
Oh.
So, they're an X-gen generation. So, but they're very experienced because they've had a career where they've really had to do this, whether it was a turnaround, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's operations, more profitability for companies. They really know how to do this, and they can very quickly come on board and make a difference at a company. So I instilled the model as well as a very results-oriented company so that clients could see the value they're getting for their money.
It sounds very, very interesting. What drives the CEOs? What drives the general managers that are part of this company or that are getting into entrepreneurial companies?
Well, it's interesting. This is part of their portfolio career. When executives decide they want to go out on their own, they want to start their own business, consulting business, interim executive business, they love this actually, because if let's say they're working 2 days a week for one client, they're typically working 2 or 3 days for another client. So they'll be working for 2 clients at the same time, giving them both a lot of attention, but they have the 2 clients. So they actually love this type of work. They get to choose the clients they want. They get to choose the work they want, and they actually get to work when they want. So it really is it's a perfect portfolio type career for executives today. And they used to be, I have to tell you, in this whole interim space back in 2006, 7, 8, the executives that were doing this were looked at as, oh, these people can't get jobs. So that's why they're doing this work.
Yeah, in a way.
Not today. They are in big demand. They have the skill sets that you can't find if you were trying to hire a full-time person or you were trying to, hire a typical consultant. They just can't find the talent that is out there for these people that are doing this interim and part-time work. So it's a fascinating model now.
It sounds like a fascinating model. And can you just describe in a few words how your career started? Because you mentioned 4 companies, and I'm really curious to hear a bit about them.
Yeah, so it's funny because I don't have any particular industry. Right out of college, I started a retail store in women's clothing, and then from there I went into medical software, and from there I went into telecommunications, and then this 4th one is a services company. So the interesting thing is if I've learned a lot, and being an entrepreneur, I made a lot of mistakes, in the first couple, because I didn't have anybody to really show me the ropes. I mean, my mentor was really my dad, and he died at an early age. So I had to really learn by doing. I had some friends that kind of helped me, but literally I just kind of did what I thought was right and hoped that it was right and moved forward. Now I was, I made some terrible mistakes and had to back up and start again. But I'll tell you, I did find my way and had some very successful companies. So I really can't complain. But what I love to do today, and one of my passions, is actually mentoring entrepreneurs so that they don't make the same mistakes that I did. I mean, I'd love to be able to shout it out to everyone what not to do, or, how to, get through, starting up a company and rapidly growing it without them, again, having to make the mistakes that I did, because I didn't have anybody to teach me, and I don't want other people to go through it if I can help them.
Well, we love that, and we have exactly a question about that, but we'll do that in a minute. And I want to ask you a bit more about the current company and ask you, who do you consider as your main customers today?
Yeah. So we actually have 2 types of clients. Obviously, one is One are the companies that hire us. And typically our ideal client looks like a small to mid-sized company. They're privately owned and they're family owned. So they can be anywhere from a startup all the way up to about 600 million. That's our sweet spot. 20% of our business are the billion-dollar companies that find us through Google. But typically that's one of our clients. Our second client is actually the executives. This talent that we have is so hard for customers to find that literally we do not want to lose them. Once we get them on our bench, we do not want to lose them to either going back and getting a full-time job or, lose them to other clients that are using their services. We want to have them available to us whenever we need them for our clients. So we treat them very well. We make sure they get paid right away. We make sure that we take care of any questions that they have. We make sure that we communicate constantly with them. Are we 100% accurate and good at it? No, but every day we think of more and more ways that we can, really communicate and do things that will keep these high-level executives on board with us.
So actually you see it in a way different than just some kind of HR company, but you're looking for long-term relationships with these people, not just finding a job for them.
Exactly. Yep.
I would like to ask you, and you've mentioned it before and I love it, I would like to ask you for your main concept or beliefs on the way a startup or entrepreneurial business should approach their customers, because this show is a lot about customers, and I would like you to give your best advice to our listeners about their customers' approach or focus from your experience.
Yes. Customers, it's very easy to retain and get more business from existing clients if you really focus on that. But on the other side, if you don't do that, then you lose them. And every time you lose them, you have to find more customers. So every entrepreneur should be looking about not only getting customers, but keeping them. And I'll give you an example of a client that we worked with not too long ago. And they were about a $400 million company. And they had a great business. It was a software business, by the way. And they would get all these clients coming in every day. They'd be calling and, closing deals and whatever. Well, the problem was they were going out the backside as fast as they were coming in the front door. They were losing customers too fast. So it was, the investors and this particular one happened to be owned by a private equity firm, but they just couldn't stop the leakage. So we helped them, bring in somebody that literally focused on nothing but those clients. Every day when sales would bring in however many clients, boy, that person was on top of not only those clients, but the clients that were already working with them, figuring out ways to communicate, to, keep them informed of what was happening with their company, sending them information of value to them so that they were always top of mind with their clients. And if they were asking for suggestions for improvement, they were asking for, how is the experience with the software now that you have it all loaded in your company? They got lots of great comments back, and they actually learned things that the clients didn't like about their services. They also found out that their price point was a little bit on the higher side. I mean, they found out a bunch of stuff that they didn't know before because all they were doing was concentrating on getting those things instead of keeping them.
And how would you say it as an advice? What is your advice to entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so my advice would be, again, you have to not only go out after the sales, after the new clients. It pays you to hire somebody internally. And this is either an external job or an internal, preferably internal, even if it's just part-time. But you need somebody internally that's going to constantly be communicating with these customers so that they don't go away. So again, my advice is focus on the customers you already have. Sure, bring in new sales, but don't forget about the ones that you've already sold, because here's what entrepreneurs tend to do. they get all these sales and then they forget these people. They forget these customers.
Sure. That's right.
And they think, oh, well, they're already with us. They're going to stay with us. But that's not true. I mean, in today's world, there's too much competition. There's too many others that will do it better or cheaper. So you better know how to keep your customers. Otherwise, you're going to be like the company I just described. And as fast as you're growing, you'll be losing customers. So you won't actually grow at all.
I think it's a very important advice. And you have a lot of successes, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But I would like to ask you to tell us what is your biggest, most critical failure with customers, the one that affected your entrepreneurial journey the most. Can you tell us this story?
Yes. Starting off as an entrepreneur, I made the mistake I just described to you that companies should not make. And that is, I didn't focus on the customer as much as I should. So that was very eye-opening, because there was the telecommunications company I was with, literally we were growing so rapidly. And it was, we were like, oh my gosh, we don't have time to worry about keeping them. It's, bringing them in and building the infrastructure so that we can take care of them. But, it wasn't all about customer service. It was more about just building the business and growing it, and not the back end of sustaining it so that you can uphold the growth that's coming in the door and keep it.
So was there any specific story with that?
Not really. You learn something with every business that you have. So since every business I had was in a different industry, it was a little different every time I went into those industries. I mean, where I am today in the service business, and we're in the staffing talent business. Sure. And it's even more important here because you're dealing with people. It's not products you're dealing with people. So that's why we concentrate on not only our customers as customers, but we concentrate on our interim executives as customers as well. So there wasn't any real one thing. It just, as I was growing the company, I just saw certain things that were happening. Oh my gosh, we just did, $10 million in sales last year, and all of a sudden we're still 10 million at the end of the year. I think we're like 12 or 13 by the end of the year. But it was like, whoa, what's the deal here? Well, how come we're not growing as fast as we should? Well, when we looked into it, it's because they were leaking. The customers were going away on the back end because there was nobody focusing on them. So again, every company you do tend, especially when you get excited about growing so fast, because that particular company, we grew unbelievably fast. 22 million in 1 year. So
wow.
we were just growing unbelievable. So it was hard for us to even think about the back end or think about, working with our clients that we already had or focusing on them. So it was a reality check. Don't lose your concentration. Don't lose your focus on the whole picture here. It's not just the growing part. It's the retaining of your customer part as well.
I do agree so much, and sometimes we are so excited, especially when it works, and we're so excited about new customers, about the kill of the sell and selling because we want to sell a lot, and we really sometimes forget to take care of what we already have. And now I would like to ask you about your biggest success due to the right customers approach. Can you tell us the story about your greatest, most significant success as a result of something you did right with customers?
Yes. In fact, it's actually happening with this company. Again, there's always this learning experience with every company you have or any industry that you go in, because each industry is a little bit different. So starting out with this particular company, in the beginning years, it was a lot of struggle. It was a lot of struggle to get business because not only did we were trying to sell our services, our interim and part-time services to companies, but we had to educate them at the same time. So because it was such a struggle, we were concentrating solely on, that education piece and growing the business.
Yeah.
As of 2011, all of a sudden the world started to change in the whole contingent workforce. People were beginning to use more and more temporary executives, part-time executives. So it became a little bit easier. Well, at that point in time, we paused and we went, okay, all right, so it's not as much about education today, but we see when we go out to talk to some of our executives that they're not available or they've gone back and taken a full-time job with corporate America. So we're like, oh, that's a problem. So we went in and we really paid attention to the needs and wants of our executives because we already had the customer part down. We already knew what they wanted and how to help them. It was the executives that we didn't really know how to help to make them want to stay in this career of being interim executive. Well, I can honestly say today in 2017 that the company has a great reputation. We get a lot of referrals from our existing executives and from our clients who have used a really good executive and they want to, ask if we wanted to bring him on in our database of executives. And that's how we get most of our executives today.
Wow.
However, at the same time, we're getting all those referrals, which there are a lot every month. We are also getting 200 applications from executives that are trying to join our organization. Out of the 200, maybe we, maybe we pick 20, 10, and somewhere between 10 and 20, and sometimes it's 0, because we're very particular about the quality of people that we want to put in front of our clients. I mean, obviously our clients expect very immediate, significant results in a very short period of time. So we really are trying to go after the top tier quality executives across especially the United States and Canada, that we can put in front of our clients. So now, again, people are coming to our site trying to get in as well as our executives because they like us so much. They're referring their good friends, their A players that they know. We have a lot of people who are being introduced to us today. So we no longer have to worry about recruiting people into the interim side because we have so many people trying to get into our company.
It's such a great feeling, I guess, and you managed really to create a demand.
Yes.
That's terrific. Can you recommend our listeners of the best or most effective technological or digital tool that's related to customer-focused marketing or sales? And the reason I'm asking for that is that there are so many tools out there, and it's not that we are looking for another one to add to the long list, but we are really looking for those tools that the successful entrepreneurs are using. And I want to ask you if there is any tool or tools that you're using or you are recommending your customers to use and you think our listeners can benefit as well.
Yes. The key to our success with tools, technology today, is actually two things. I can't really give you anything specific necessarily. Technology is changing so quickly. I mean, what you use today, 3 or 4 years from today, you're not using it, you're using something else. So I'll give you kind of a more broad point of view on that question, which is every entrepreneur, whether you're in retail or whether you're in, manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, construction, it doesn't matter what industry you are in. Don't think that you should not be using digital marketing because you are absolutely wrong. One of the things that we did back in 2011 is we decided to really, number one, to start automating all of our back-end services so that we could take care of what our clients needed. We could take care of what the executives needed very quickly. I mean, the response today is very quickly because customers want it easy and quick. So we automated all of our back-end. But the other thing we did was we started to test with digital marketing. And digital marketing's not something that's easy today because I actually listened to a couple of your other guests that you had on your show, and they were talking about something similar actually, because digital marketing changes almost on a monthly basis. not quite that bad. I mean, it doesn't change totally in every month, but literally it changes often enough. So number one, there's a book out there that I really like, and it's called The Lean Startup.
Oh,
And it doesn't
Eric Rice. Yeah.
doesn't just apply to startup. Yeah, it actually applies to any size company, because don't think all of a sudden I'm going to spend $1 million on, ads on Google or ads on LinkedIn or, start doing social media. Don't do that. Start to test. So test a couple ads, do your homework, do your research, test a couple things on AdWords with different phrases, different questions, try to draw in the audience, go to, start doing some things on Twitter, start doing a couple things on LinkedIn, but test. So, let's say after 3 months, 4 months, okay, stats are starting to come in and you're finding, oh, okay, so we're doing really well on LinkedIn, not so much on Twitter, and AdWords, it depends on the phrase. Some of our ad phrases that we used in our ads worked and others didn't. So we started tweaking that. Well, today I must admit marketing was saying, oh, you need to try these phrases and these things. And I'd be a little skeptical. Are you sure?
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a far reach. Oh my gosh. Today, because of that, we get just hundreds of leads that are coming in, in very short periods of time because of all this digital marketing we do. Our salespeople are actually kind of spoiled because they just have to answer the phone and close sales. They don't have to go out and get sales anymore, because there's a certain thing that you need to do to master this. And again, it's test and change and edit and test some more and tweak it, get people's comments back, whether they liked it, they didn't like it. I mean, make sure you're really testing things before you put too much money into it, because that's one of the things, again, I can see that I did in my prior companies. I would spend a lot of money on one thing and then it wouldn't work. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just spent all that money and it's not working. So, and it's not that, I didn't move on very quickly, because as soon as I see something that isn't working, I tend to pull it and I'll do something else. But with this company, literally, we tried it in little pieces. So we never really spent a lot of money on any one failure. We just spent, good money testing and making sure that what we're doing is really working with our customers or our interims.
And what is the digital tool that actually works for you best today?
There isn't one. There is not one, because one day it could be AdWords, pay per click.
Yeah.
One day it could be that. And we get, I don't know, a ton of leads coming in from that. The next week or the next month, we get nothing on it. And now all of a sudden it's LinkedIn, or maybe it's Facebook, or maybe it's an email campaign.
Really?
It is our strategy is to just watch it constantly. I mean, literally every month we make tweaks, and sometimes even a little sooner than a month. We're always watching it. So I actually have a team that oversees all of the marketing, what the successes are. They look at all the analytics that are coming in from all this digital marketing, and they're tweaking, because Google, every time I turn around, they're changing their analytics. LinkedIn is changing their analytics and how you find things on their site now. So Facebook, same way. So it's not one way that you need to market. You just need to be constantly out there tweaking, and whatever you see is working, really put some money behind it. Use it as much as you can for that period of time where it's really working. And then, hey, something else is starting to work, put more money in that direction. Again, you just got to keep moving money around.
It's very interesting, and I must say that it's a unique advice, and it's very interesting to listen. The idea of keep testing all the time, not only when you find out it doesn't work anymore, but keep testing and looking for what would work best now. It's an interesting way to look at it. Usually we change only when we find out that something is not working anymore, like you talked about your period jobs or your period companies.
It's the world today. It's really quite interesting. And AI and analytics, big data, the more data you can collect, the better your company will do. I mean, our sales, our revenues go up every year because we have more data to work with, which which makes us smarter at, doing things, whether it's digital marketing, whether it's, doing things for our clients or doing things for our interim executives. Data really is the key to being successful today. So you don't have a lot of data when you first start, but start collecting it then.
There are a lot of things that actually affect our success, but I want to ask you, what is the one thing that from all other things really affect your success? What is your key success factor?
A great team. We have a great executive team that really works well together. And I will say that any other company would look at the amount of people that we have within our firm and would go, there's no way possible you could do that with so few people. Well, companies today, there's one that sold to Google for $1 billion, and they had less than 20 people. If you have a solid team that works well together and you have other resources like, outsourcing it to these particular vendors or using part-time or interim, temporary staff, and it could be marketing staff, temporary marketing staff that you use. It could be interim CIO that you're using. I mean, there's different ways to get the talent that you need, but the key though is your core team. I mean, again, nobody in our company looks at each other and goes, that's not my job. We all look at how do we help you? All of a sudden we're doing great. I don't have any problems in my department, but somebody else is struggling. Boy, they don't hesitate to come over and help. So it really is a team effort to make this company successful, and it's because we have a really good a good team, period.
Our final question, before I'll ask you what is the best way to connect with you, I want to ask you our mountain question. And our mountain question is, I really believe the best way to get big, sustainable, and fast success is to find out which category you can lead. It's not a new approach. Cerius and Jack Trout actually were the first that really talked about it and wrote about it in their excellent book of the 22 Rules for Marketing. But really, if you do understand which category you can lead, which market category you can be the leader of, and especially when entrepreneurs are inventing a new idea, and this is the way to really succeed fast in marketing. And it always reminds me climbing a mountain. This way to conquer and to take ownership of the mind of the customers and be the leadership in the mind of the customer of some category always reminds me of a mountain or climbing a mountain until you get to the peak. And I want to ask you if there is any mountain that you climbed or wish to climb or like to look at. Do you have any mountain of your own, actually?
I do, but I actually want to mention two,
Oh.
Only because the first one actually gave me my love of climbing mountains, and that was the Rootburn trail over in New Zealand. It's in the South Island of New Zealand. And when we got to the top, we were overlooking the glaciers. It was magnificent view. And it was, I felt so accomplished just, climbing that. It was just really awesome.
Wow.
So one I would really like to climb that I have not climbed yet is Machu Picchu.
Oh, in Peru.
Yes, I've always wanted to do it. I've heard it's fantastic. I'm not worried about, getting up too high and feeling dizzy or sick because, I've done it before. So I just really want to go there and master that mountain. So that's my dream.
It's a wonderful dream. And my daughter actually with my husband, they both climbed Machu Picchu, and we have such beautiful photos out of this trip. So I can definitely understand why, and the story about the Aztec there, and I can definitely understand why it's a mountain worth climbing. So thank you for sharing this with us. Pamela, I would like to ask you, what is the best way to contact you and to connect with you for those listeners that sure want to get in touch with you?
Yes. Yes. So our website is Cerius Executives, but I always like to make it easy for people to find us. So Cerius is our name of our company. Cerius is kind of a play on words. It's spelled Cerius instead of the regular Cerius, but we always have the play on words of get serious, really get serious, or you need help, get serious. So I want to give you the link, Get Cerius. So it's getcerius.com, and then the / reach or miss. So your guest, again, can go to getcerius.com / reach or miss. And the cool thing about going to that link, it takes you to a page that has a ton of giveaways. We give away books, we give away tips on operations, sales, marketing, finance. I mean, anything that you could possibly want. There's some great information on there for anyone that's in business today. So I welcome them going to that site because, again, we want to, as a thank you for being on your podcast today, we want to make sure that they're away with something.
Thank you. I'm sure they will find a lot there, and we'll put the link, of course, as the link to any other thing that we talked about today and the tools. I would like to thank you so much for this conversation. It has been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. It was an honor to be on your show, so thank you.
Thank you, and we learned a lot. I learned a lot today of a new world, and I'm really excited about it. So bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And for you, our listeners, until the next time, it all goes down to this. You either reach or miss. Keep reaching your goals and vision. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Reach or Miss Show, the podcast for the customer-focused entrepreneur. You can find all the information, links, and resources that was mentioned at the show in our website, reachormiss.com. See you next week.